Takapisirwa dzimba. Chipango yakaoma daiso takazvitakura mapreparation sakatsviramba chikafu chesabhani chatakakwanisa na kubhisawo zvise zvakatsviramba apa nhumbi yaenda ati pa 8 months asina ana pekutangirawo saka takutokumbira kuti vanokwanisa vatibatsira nepekugara.
Maomerwa, this is the truth.
We are not going to budge.
ZANU-PF is a ruling party. So if you want a soup at a boarding, you go to the person akabata arikudisha. Whether you like it or not, but that person is your lunch. If you want lunch, you come to the boarding master ZANU-PF.
A lot has been happening in Zimbabwe's body politic. There has been the issue around the 2/3 majority that ZANU-PF has now gotten into in parliament. There is also the confusion that is rocking the main opposition, CCC, and Zimbabwe is looking at who will succeed President Emmerson Mnangagwa in 2028. Because he will have served his constitutional and mandated 2 terms in line with the Zimbabwe Constitution. My own, the former honorable member of parliament in Norton, who was an independent candidate, is now a Sabuku. And we are going to be talking about this and more in this episode of The Free Talk, in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, here on HSTV. Just join me after this break as I join the former independent member of parliament for Norton, Themba Mliswa, in discussion around the politics, the people and power in Zimbabwe. Welcome back to The Free Talk, in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. And I'm your host as usual, Dara B. And I am talking to the Honorable, none other than Themba Mliswa. Thank you very much, Honorable Mliswa, for joining me on this episode. Now, I just want to congratulate you for your appointment as the new heir of the Mliswa Chief Sabuku in your village.
Thank you very much. And I'm Jakuripisa, the honorable. The honorable, you can money, I shall not this. So at least I have a title. No, thank you very much for that message. I think it still talks about the people and the development started village.
How does it feel, Honorable Mliswa, to be on the apex, to be in parliament and going to the level of it's a village head? Yes.
Listen, the first structure of development is the village. You see? So you cannot develop without the village. So the village is the first structure of development. Then you move it to the next level. You move it to the next level. So even as a legislator, there's nothing that you can talk about without considering the village. The power of the people is at grassroots level. That's where the power is, that's where the people are, that's where the development is needed. And if you are a person who's pro-development, who's about people, you cannot escape that. And where you are not at all compelled to do certain things because people elected you. When they elect you, they think they own you. But being a village head, no one owns you. You are the one who's supposed to do good for the people naturally, without any condition.
But in Zimbabwe, this post, the chieftains, the village head, have been weaponized to support ZANU-PF. So now, let's talk about this. Masabuku have been seen as people who campaign on behalf of ZANU-PF.
May we say that they work with the government of the day? And if they don't work with the government of the day, how then can they further the cause of the people in terms of development? I think there must be a separation when it comes to that. One of the issues which is critical for Zimbabweans to understand, which I've always said to the opposition, remain the opposition, but work with the government of the day. Remain the opposition, but you have to also work with them. Now, the opposition doesn't want to work with the government of the day. One day there will be the government of the day. Okay? And how then do they expect that opposition at that time not to work with them? So you still have that responsibility, you still have that mandate to respect the government of the day and work with them. So traditional leaders have a traditional act which they follow. And in that traditional act, they have to work with the government of the day. If you look at policy 8.0, that's rural development. And rural development talks about the traditional leader. It is inculcated in the policy of government, rural development. Without rural development, then we are not pushing the agenda for the people and so forth. So it's part of policy. It's part of one of the deliverables that government has to do. In so doing, they have no choice but to interact with the village heads on the ground.
But there's a difference between interaction and mobilizing and effectively supporting a ruling party, right? So we have had, for instance, statements by Chief Charumbira, who said they are stockholders in ZANU-PF. They belong to ZANU-PF and they work for and with ZANU-PF.
Yes, they must work with ZANU-PF because ZANU-PF is also the ruling party. You must understand that, because as much as you don't like ZANU-PF, but it's also the ruling party. So when I say I'm working with the ZANU-PF, that's the government of the day. Unless there's any other understanding that you know of that, I would like to be educated today. So in South Africa, the ANC, when you're working with the ANC, they come up with the manifesto. The policies that you see government doing for the South African people would have come from the ANC, where they have congresses, they've got conferences, they've got retreats where they're coming up with an idea to empower the people of South Africa. So indeed, you work with ANC because ANC the government of the day. But equally, you can also work with the opposition, because what you're trying to really have is a situation where it's an inclusive approach which is good for the people. It does not mean, listen, I would love to see ZANU-PF incorporating the opposition, incorporating other parties and so forth. But I would also like the opposition to be seen to be also extending, a hand to ZANU-PF to say, let us work together for the good of the people.
Do you think it's possible in Zimbabwe?
That's where things are totally wrong. They're all the same. They're all the same. Politicians in Zimbabwe are all the same. And it's unfortunate because for as long as we don't have that inclusive approach, it's different. That's why I love being a village head, because in my village, I don't ask which party you belong to. I don't ask, and I do what I have to do for you without vetting you, without wanting to know which party you belong to and so forth. And of course, I've just been installed as a village head. I'm yet to come across some of the issues that you're talking about, because elections happened and so forth, and we're supposed to be apolitical. But of course, by attending a ZANU-PF meeting, is there anything wrong with that? By me attending a CCC meeting, is there anything wrong with that? I did it in Norton. I went to a ZANU-PF rally. People were not happy. I went to a CCC rally. They also chucked me away. So ZANU-PF chucked me from their rally. CCC chucked me from their rally. So where are we going? I mean, am I not allowed to go and listen to what CCC is saying? Am I not allowed to go and listen to what ZANU-PF is saying? Because I want to represent the people inclusively and give them what is best for them. There are some good ideas that the opposition will have which are good for the country. And there's also some good ideas which the ruling party will have which is good for the country. There are some bad ones which I might not share with them, which are subject to constructive criticism. That's a key word which Zimbabweans must understand. There is nothing wrong with constructive criticism. Even if you're in ZANU-PF, you should be the first to offer that constructive criticism. Even if you're in the opposition, you should be able to offer that constructive criticism within. I question the internal democracy in these structures. Does it exist? In it not existing, it's the people who choose the leaders, and the leaders are the people.
You have been in ZANU-PF before. Did you see internal democracy in the ruling party?
I spoke my mind. It's up to...
And you were fired?
Listen, whether I was fired or not, but I spoke my mind. My position was known. at all times, even at the time when people would not be able to stand for ED, I stood for ED. That's why I'm surprised with some of these people today who say they were with ED. I don't know where they were. Maybe they were ghosts at the time and so forth. But we spoke about the Second Republic. We were involved in the Second Republic. We traveled to Botswana at the Troika meeting where they were discussing whether to send troops to Zimbabwe or not. I intervened in that meeting and said, no, constitutionally, we are right in what we are doing. The army has a right to go to the streets according to section 213 and 214 of the Constitution to maintain law and order. There's a provision in the Constitution that talks about that.
Are you disappointed that when the Second Republic came, you were overlooked? You have not been given any recognition for the work that you did?
Listen, you speak to me today as a father who has a daughter incarcerated over drugs. I wanted to have that daughter. Should I now abandon the daughter? I don't have to abandon the daughter. I now have to see how I can intervene in the circumstance she's in. I wanted to have her. She still remains my daughter, but I must come up with ways of intervening so that we improve her life at the end of the day. But I would have had her and so forth. So yes, I totally was behind ED, and I would want to see what I expect of him to do in terms of leading the country and so forth, in terms of being able to be inclusive. One of the things that I looked forward to is the inclusivity approach. Him being a Democrat, being a lawyer, being a businessman, I thought that we thought the last former late president, Zimbabwe, was more of a politician than a businessman. But ED has got that flair of business. In having that flair of business, you talk to everyone. The customer is first, and everybody is a customer to you. So we thought that would then be able to more or less resonate. Okay,
Is it resonating?
Listen, I suppose my bit is to support a leader, and it's up to the leader.
Is it resonating?
I would have wanted, in my personal opinion, 2017, I would have wanted to see some sort of inclusivity in terms of other members of the opposition being part of the government. I would have liked to see that again in 2018 after the elections, to also bring some in government, invite them to be part of the government. The prerogative lies with him to hire and fire and so forth. So the power is not taken away from him and so forth, because we are too polarized. We are looking at somebody who can sanitize that.
You'd wanted to see inclusivity, you'd wanted to see him behaving as a Democrat. Are you seeing that?
Listen, leadership styles differ. And I think, listen, he did it with Priscilla Misairambu, who's now an ambassador and so forth. That's some inclusivity. Ambassador Maridadi, there's some inclusivity and so forth. Unfortunately, I cannot pick who I want. Okay, if you had asked me, would I have had Tendai Beat in government? Yes, I would have Tendai Beat in government as Minister of Finance and so forth. But that's his prerogative. I cannot interfere with it.
You have a rich history in sport, Would you have wanted to be a Minister of Sport in Zimbabwe after working so hard to ensure that the Second Republic
that's one of the reasons why I got into sport in politics in 2013. With the rich background I had in sport and having studied overseas, I wanted to impart it to my people. I thought it was a no-brainer. My CV talks about sport, and I thought when the president is appointing the Minister of Sport, I looked around, who else has a CV in sport? No one. The next thing, Dara, I was not there. So, and I said to myself, listen, I did not know that he had to lobby. Then someone said to me, no, but you're supposed to find ways of lobbying to get these positions. I thought it was a simple process. Sport, he has a CV, he's got a degree in sport, he's been the national team fitness coach, tennis has been there, cricket has been there, rugby has been there, and there's no mainstream sport which I did not partake in, nationally, locally, and so forth. So let him run with it. I would have loved that. I had ideas for sport. I mean, I see sport today. That's why today you don't even see me getting involved in sport, because it was close to me. It was a passion. I was a boxer. I was supposed to go to the Commonwealth in 98, is that? When I knocked down Kid Power in the gym. People like Pikirai Deketeke will attest to that, because they were in that gym. Kid Power had never been knocked down, and I was sparring with him, because boxing was my love. But my parents said, no, it's a barbaric sport. They didn't want me to participate in it. But it is for the real men out there.
Now Zimbabwe is playing its away games, its home games away. It's playing in Rwanda, and we have a Minister of Sport, Kirsty Coventry, who many, when she was appointed, believed that she could turn around the sporting, powers of Zimbabwe. Are you disappointed?
No, Kirsty is a gold medalist and is an Olympic medalist, which is great. But that does not then give you the ability to be able to administer sport. Okay, I played sport. I could not just end there because I played. Even Moses Chunga has got to go through some coaching courses to be able to understand sport. It's become scientific and all that. So being an Olympian and a medalist does not necessarily mean you're going to do well in sport. Most of the most brilliant players out there are not good coaches. Look at Alex Ferguson. What football did he play that makes him the great coach he is? Mourinho. What football did he play that makes him the thing? Stephen Kwashi in the days. What football did he play at the highest level that makes him a great coach? It's about understanding and having an ability to lead, which is important. Because sport is about leading, and it's about getting to the people, coming with programs, understanding. Disappointingly, whether you like it or not, Kirsty was supposed to be coming up with programs in the rural areas, bringing them up, having a proper structure. There's no proper structure in sport. If I was the Minister of Sport, I would dissolve every association and tell them to come up with a 5-year plan, which I would be in charge of myself, and say, in cricket, this is what we're going to do. In soccer, this is what we're going to do. In rugby, and stop participating internationally until the grassroots structures are coming through, and from there we are then able to breed more players who then are exported at the end of the day. It's a multi-million-dollar business. So when I talk about sports, I become passionate. That's why you see that I'm now into the wellness program. I'm going to be setting up a number of gyms in the tertiary institutions and so forth. So to begin with, you need to have facilities where people can train. So it's not good inviting you to do sport. There's no gym. There's nobody to work on your muscle groups and everything. Playing soccer, you need to have muscle groups which make you, should deal with the quadriceps, should deal with the calves, should deal with the hamstring and so forth. These are issues that I'm talking to you, which you don't understand, the same way you would tell me about journalism. Some of the things I don't understand. So there are gurus for that who must be given that opportunity. Sport is critical in unifying a country. It's critical. It's critical. It is the platinum of unification for any country.
Would you say we have failed our people in terms of that area?
We have totally. And because of that, we are poorer. Recreational facilities, where are they? Where kids are playing and so forth, so that they stay away from the ills of this world, the drug substance abuse and so forth. That's what we used to do. We'd go to Frank Johnson School. The gates are open, we're playing sport there. There's equipment there. The kids must go to a school, to a center, where soccer balls will be there, cricket bats will be there, rugby balls will be there, a tennis court will be there, tennis rackets, a basketball court will be there. They are playing, and their coaches also with them. And then after that, they leave the things, they go home. They don't need to come with a soccer ball. They don't need to come with a basketball. That's the vision. And once you have that, then you are then able to say we're developing sport. Wherever you're traveling, you must be seeing kids playing. Recreational facilities, we have now prioritized housing and infrastructure against recreation. Where there's supposed to be a stadium, a recreational facility, what do we have? A house, a church.
Let me talk about the chaos in the opposition in the Triple C. You have been talking about this on your social media handle, and in one of your tweets you said that it's a no-brainer that Nelson Chamisa is the face of the opposition. Let's talk about that.
Listen, I will comment as a village head. I'm also aware that I must be apolitical, but these are events which are happening, and we cannot divorce ourselves from it. Clearly, you'd want to see a strong opposition, which is good for the ruling party. But when the opposition is as weak as it is, it's not good for the ruling party. And the ruling party must equally not celebrate, because you need accountability. You need people who understand the art of parliament. That's why I always spoke about Tendai BT. That debate in Parliament, whether you like it or not, when it came to the budget, we looked up to Tendai BT. He was former Minister of Finance. He set the tone. He would come in left, right, and center where he left that and so forth. He would correct you this and that and so forth. You would look forward to it because those were facts which were being presented. Even the Minister of Finance himself had to make sure that he's pulled the socks up so that he performs, because questions had to be asked pertaining to the resources of the country, the allocation, which is critical for any transformation to happen and so forth. Now that there is no institutional memory, that's why at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, the ruling party, ZANU-PF, continues to dominate because they have people there who have been there for a while and they've got that institutional memory. And they're able to play with you. Do the young people today look forward to the young leader being in power and leading them, or they are looking for a leader who will change their fortunes? Because you are young, it does not mean people follow you. Okay, you can be old, but come up with policies that empower young people. What is critical is the empowerment of young people in every way, and you cannot do that if you're outside the mainstream of politics. You have to be the government in waiting. You have to show you're the government in waiting. You have to show you're the opposition. You have to show you're the leader of the opposition, so that when they then come to elections, they're able to gauge you that this man did well as the leader of the opposition. He has the capabilities of leading the country. You have to start somewhere. You cannot be out of it. That's the reason why it was critical for Nelson Chamisa to be in that parliament, to be the leader of the opposition, to be leading the opposition in there. Because one, he has an experience of these institutions which are critical to the governance of this country. He was a former minister, fine, he sat in cabinet. He was supposed to lead the opposition in parliament and so forth, so that he was supposed to be invited to state functions so that he's recognized as the leader of the opposition. That was extended to him. And to me, I always said that was the biggest blunder ever. But again, it's the people around you. Okay, the people around you who ill-advise you. But he didn't follow that, so it becomes a problem.
How does someone become a leader of the opposition? When the elections, they believe that the elections were robbed, and the elections were not free and fair. Where do you start to begin to acknowledge each other?
But you can't be hypocritical. You can't be playing with people's minds. That's the problem with these politicians, and that's the problem with the people of Zimbabwe. You allow politicians to play with your mind. Listen, if you're not happy with the elections, why did you participate in the first place? Why did you participate? Let's be honest. Let's speak truth to our leaders and to our people. And why did the people go and vote? Okay? Just recently, there have been by-elections. The vote turnout has not been good. Okay? Because they've not been happy with certain things. So you cannot say we've participated in elections, now we cannot recognize you. It does not work like that.
So you're saying if you participate and the elections are stolen, you have to accept?
Who says they are stolen? If you knew that elections are stolen, why don't you also plan to also steal? Come up with a strategy to steal too. You cannot be crying. Elections are I lost an election in Norton, and I was very clear about it. I never lost to Trangirai. I lost to Chamisa because it was urban. 2 of the rural wards were taken out. Okay, I was left with 1. The rest were urban. So in sitting down and analyze, even if people came to me and said, no, ZANU-PF didn't want you to be in parliament because you're exposing them, they rigged you, then I said, that's okay. That's okay. That's what the people wanted. Let them do what they want.
But you're talking about gerrymandering here, aren't you? Because you said the other rural constituencies were taken out, and therefore you were left exposed.
It was a legal process. It was delimitation. I could have debated it in parliament so that they come back, but I saw need for that. I was given a chance. I'm not a crybaby. You don't get into this game. This game is not for priests. It's politics. It's not a church. It's not a church where you bow down to God and you think that the prayers will come through. No. It's you've got to be prepared. Every politician in this country is violent.
You're violent?
Every politician in this country is violent.
Why are you violent?
Because do you know why? Because the nature of politics is like that. So there's nobody who leaves their house, and there's no wife or husband who lets their wife or husband go out not knowing that politics is violent in Zimbabwe. So don't, because you've been beaten by another one, because you're not well prepared for the fight, don't say I was beaten. Go back and train harder. Go and take your young people to do judo, to do this and that. Everybody has got their dogs in politics. I'm telling you this today. So let people not feel sorry.
You had dogs?
Listen, I told you everybody.
You had dogs.
I told you everybody had their dogs. Because you must defend yourself at some point, because you have your dogs.
Who were your dogs?
No, you have your dogs because you know that is violent. There's no ways I can walk out in the evening, okay, in the Chinzwamba, and it's not about a trimble. Does it mean I'm violent?
You talk about winning the urban vote and then losing the rural vote. Is it not because that in the urban the fight is still unfair, but people in the urban areas have a bit of more information and they are more switched on than as opposed to your village?
A strategy. This is where I say what the strategy is. Even if you win 100% in the urban, you will never win the election in this country because the majority of the people in the rural areas.
Is that so? I thought there's massive rural-urban migration, and that the population in Harare would be somewhere around 2 million Zimbabwe.
Listen. No matter what, the rural population is far. When I talk about the rural population, I'm equally talking about those who are inculcated the rural way, who are in the urban. Are you understanding? Where weekend wanoenda kumusha. So nekuti unaye weekend achita basa zvekuti ari urban orientated. So that's what you must understand. Kana dzeku uzumba vanhu bafungo dzako ku UMP makutanga kuchema manje. So the question that what did you do as a party to intensify, okay, your numbers, your efforts so that you win? They do nothing. They are worried about being things. These MPs are worried about cars. Okay, inini ndiri sabhuku kana takagara dare ndatsamwiswa padare rangu ndasumuka vana vangu vanonditeera kuti baba vasumuka wozondibvunza. They ask me taku village kuti baba kose masumuka. So pakabuda Nelson se vasina kusumuka vachienda. They were looking for jobs. They are not politicians. They've never had a job. They've never had a salary because of unemployment. And the people forget kuti vari kuvhotera vanhu vane nzara. Saka anobuda sei mu parliament achienda kune mukuru wake inzara. Akuda mota, akuda gara motera. You see, we don't need that. We are able to move away. We are business people first. We got into parliament because we had a business to run. Temba was a sportsman. Temba was a farmer. Temba had a tobacco company. There is a history. Uyapinda ane chichi chakaita. Saka mangomutsagira basa. Saka angasiye basa uku nekuti mukuru wake aenda. Inda achida kunyebera nodai.
In your view, do you think it was justified for Nelson Chamisa to leave the party? The way he said he left it.
He was right because he had con artists and people who betrayed him. Those are con artists. They must go and act in Hollywood. They are great actors and actresses. I would not be. Okay, and this is where they are different from ZANU-PF. When ZANU-PF takes a position, everybody takes that position.
So you think those who remained in parliament, those who are saying that they are occupying democratic spaces that people fought for and voted for, are con artists?
Let them go and do a proper referendum in their constituencies. And let's get the say of the people, not having a few people in the corner that you are giving your salary to and ambas to, and they're saying, no, go back and work.
I'll say you're saying this because you want a shot in Norton. You want Richard Tsvangirai to leave so that you can run there and win and get back to parliament.
Who says that I was not asked to stand in Norton if Richard Tsvangirai was removed? Who tells you? I'm not interested in being a legislator. I'm very clear about that. I've got my time. I've got businesses to do. I've got children to look after.
But you lost in an election you ran.
And I respect that. And I respect the will of the people. I cannot be angry with the people.
So you're not going to go back if there's a vacancy?
No. I cannot. I will not. I will not even go and stand anywhere else. I'm done. I did my bit. There's nothing. Data, which I did, which I will do again, it becomes rhetoric. The things I said today and last time in Parliament still matter. They've still not been attended to. So you have a legacy. You must learn to live and leave a legacy. So that you can on my road. I enjoy that now. I'm actually more popular than I was in Parliament. So I don't want to destroy my legacy. I'm doing my documentary right now. You see, so I don't want to destroy my legacy. Most politicians forget that they must do something. Look at the former late President Harare. Where is his documentary? Where is his history? From sport to what you've said, people must read about him. My children must be able to be said, oh, your father was a great man. Your father did this. You see, your father loved his kids. We used to see on social media, Mese Makawanda muri 16 team board. Okay? So you need to prepare for that in life too. Up to now, there's a car that I've not taken from Parliament since the 2013 car. I don't have it. I never got into Parliament for a car. But these guys are going in for those things. And that now destroys democracy.
Are you saying that the people are alone with these people that are in Parliament right now because they are not interested in their welfare?
Totally not interested in their welfare. Because first of all, they have to look after themselves. Why would you be interested in somebody's welfare when your welfare is not in order? You give me a profile of those members of Parliament. What is it that they do? Why don't you do that one day? I think it's a very good one. Do a profile of each member of Parliament. Outside Parliament, what business do they run? Do they own a house? Do they do this and that? It is critical for representation.
Most of them say that they funded these campaigns by themselves. They put money there and they invest.
What money do you need in the urban? All you need is Chamisa to put you there. That's what you need. In the rural areas, that's where you need money.
So you're saying...
No wonder why they never won in the rural areas. They don't have much seats there. Because you need money there. You know that, man? In getting into Urungwe West, I needed to have $2,000 in my pocket. Just one trip. I was a farmer. I made my money from farming. Where do they make it? They are not even paid $2,000 a month. Let alone drive your car there. You need to service it and so forth. That's why I always push the agenda that the office of the Member of Parliament must be well resourced so that they're able to discharge their duties in the interest of the people. One, they did not get the land. Two, Mastenza.
Are you saying that without Chamisa, these guys would not win any election?
100%. So what does he need those people for? He walks away. They will never win the next election. You and I can bet now. All these guys who came through Chamisa, in the next election, they're as good as gone. Makwao watu vicherera. Chasara kufushira. And you want to go Mari and Yika waste of taxpayers, man. Mutaundi Maria no Shandis and Dave. You tell me. You no Shandis and Dave. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. But the electorate itself is to blame. They're too emotive. They're not mature politicians. They're not able to separate issues. You see, for me, what I did in Norton, I still go back to Norton. I've got kids on scholarship. I've got the TPN Foundation. I do this and that. I'm even running more programs. If you go and see what I've done since I lost, I've done more than the Member of Parliament there. But I don't have to. I'm not doing it because I want to be a Member of Parliament. I love people. I do it for people. I've been blessed by God in the little things I have to share with people. I'm a people's person. That's why politicians in Shurugwi, even my villageship, was being blocked. Politicians had been involved. My grandfather was in that position in 1949. And they said, oh, Temba, nowhere. You know, when you're a people's person, they're attracted to you. They're attracted to you. See? And that's me as a person.
If you sit with Nelson Chamisa today, as he looks to launch whatever it is that he's going to launch, we don't know. What advice would you give him?
No, he hasn't got strategists. He's got to come up with better strategies. Unfortunately, history, will again record him as one of the opposition leaders, not the president. That's sad. Because they've more or less aligned themselves to bring the opposition and not wanting to lead this country. And you cannot blame ZANU-PF. You can't. All these things that have been happening, they're trying to blame ZANU-PF. No, none of them is not talking about ZANU-PF. They're talking about themselves. Where ZANU-PF has an opportunity, okay, it will take advantage of it. It will take advantage, just like you want to dominate 100%. In business, if you're sleeping, INSCO is coming, they're doing their what you call it, their chicken ins and everything, because there's a market and you've not done it, they will continue. Others will come through and everything, because that's life. Life is about identifying opportunities and going for them. And ZANU-PF has been very good at that. Have been very good at that.
You're talking about ZANU-PF being very good at that. There's talk of extending the term of presidency. And just today, just a few days ago, you did a thread on it. Let's talk about that.
Listen, to me, it's not right. The president wanted the second term, the first term wanted the second term, is working at it. Allow him to work at it. That's a principle. Allow him to work at it. It's too early. Let him deal with the middle income economy that they want to achieve. And then let the people speak. The people speak. Rwanda has it. It went through a referendum, whether they like it or not. But Rwanda, through Kagame, through following the processes, is probably one of the best countries. They have nothing, but they're better than Zimbabwe in terms of running their own things. They don't have the resources we have, but because of leadership. But when it got there, it was done properly. There's an aspect of a referendum, which is constitutional at the end of the day. And we've never been, ZANU has never won referendums. They've never been good at it. No wonder why we are seized with this constitution that we have, which they did not like. They didn't like it, but it had to see the end of the day, because ultimately you are taking it to the people.
Do you think that it is useful to start campaigning for a third-term presidency?
No, I don't even think it's part of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is structured. I was the chairman of ZANU-PF. If that was the position of ZANU-PF, it starts at district level where they make such resolutions. Then it gets to DCC. Then it gets to the province. By then, I would be the chairman of Mashwest province, and I call for a PCC meeting. But from before a PCC meeting, there is a PEC, a Provincial Executive Committee meeting. Then you now table it before a PCC meeting and say, this is our position. That's why you see even the current president, there are provinces who got up. They say, let's go and endorse. It's done properly. And ZANU-PF is good at doing such things. So these are just kindergartens. These are just young kids who are excited and everything, who don't understand politics, who don't understand procedure and structure.
Let's say someone is behind it and is pushing it. Do you think it will see the light of day?
Listen, you also don't test the waters like that. ZANU-PF is very structured. Tinoma Chakere, being the leader of the youth, can move that motion within the youth league, but in a structured approach where each province sits down and so forth, and then he tables it.
You were warning Tinoma Chakere in your
No, I was just trying to teach him the structures of the party, that you don't work like that as a youth leader. Is it your decision, or is the decision of the youth in the whole country, in ZANU-PF, where it is structured?
Do ZANU-PF youths make decisions, or they sing decisions that have been
No, they are structured. They are structured. Knowing he did the way I do, he would never allow anything which is not structured. He wouldn't. That I know. He would not allow anything which is not structured. So those are individuals who are doing what they're doing. If the Women's League believes that they want that, they have to follow the channels of the party, and it goes properly. I don't know who's the Chitepo ideology, but I think they should make me a principal so that I bring everybody in. They understand their party constitutions, how it works, and so forth. Because it is run by the constitution.
You're ZANU-PF.
Listen, one thing you must understand, and that's important for you to understand, that my father was Zipra, my father was Zapu, ZANU-PF got united, I became ZANU-PF and so forth. There are a lot of things I associate myself with ZANU-PF, which I think are great, and I'll talk about them. At the same time...
So you're still ZANU-PF?
But I was kicked out of ZANU-PF.
But you are ZANU-PF in your heart.
Oh, listen, there are a lot of issues, things that I do, and a lot of my friends are
You would
ZANU-PF.
want to be a principal at ZANU-PF Tepo Ideology School. So you are ZANU-PF.
Yeah, the reason why I would do that, the ideology of the country is important. So I would incorporate everyone. If I was the principal, I would incorporate everyone. It started by ZANU-PF. It's good for every young person to know the history of the country.
You're saying
So I would
ZANU-PF is
incorporate.
good for every young person in Zimbabwe. Is that what you're saying?
The Herbert School of Ideology is important for every young person in the country. That's why I'm against ZANU-PF making the ZANU-PF thing. While they have the idea. It's no point you having a fish and chip show called Dara and you think, change the name. What you want are the customers to come and buy. But us, we always want ownership. Dara ndini, but vanhu havasikuya pamagrosa anongoti dara pabosto havasikuya. Munhu anongoti bottle store yevanhu. What you want are the cells.
Let's look at the dynamics in ZANU-PF. Would the dynamics in ZANU-PF allow a third-term presidency? Would a vice president, a VP Chiwenga not want to be a president himself?
No, listen. As long as it is well structured, the structures of ZANU-PF, you've got to understand, if ED wanted a third term, they would support that. The only difficulty is the referendum. Did you get that? The structures will. The only difficulty is the referendum. They can make all the noise right now, but not when they want to be whipped. They will be whipped. And when they're whipped, they're in line. And you've seen that many times. People can make noise and so forth. But that decision is for ED himself. He also has a legacy to protect and so forth. But if the party sat down and said, we want to do a third term and so forth, it's a no-brainer in ZANU-PF. That's safe landing. But the problem is the referendum. They have to think about
with the opposition in 6s and 7s.
No, the referendum has got nothing to do with the opposition. The referendum has got nothing to do with any political party. It's what people think. That's the referendum. That's the danger of the referendum. And you can't whip everyone. Triple C cannot whip its people, or the blue party cannot whip it, or ZANU-PF cannot, not when it comes to referendum. No one is in control of it. You and I are in control of it.
Do you think ED's leadership could inspire people in a referendum to vote for him to have a third term?
You see, the situation that you have is, if ED is not there, who's the alternative? In the opposition, who's the alternative? That's critical.
ED is the best we have?
Who's the alternative? Tell me. Who's the alternative?
Washman?
With all the controversy happening. ED has no controversy in ZANU-PF. There's no controversy. And that's the truth of the matter. And when I say this, I don't want people to say, hey, Temba, Tanga, ZANU-PF. And I tell you the truth. There's no controversy in terms of ED's leadership in ZANU-PF. Yeah, a few people can back outside and so forth and all that. Of course, even the young people saying ED 2030, they're excited because they see the momentum that is there and so forth. And of course, no one can say to them, keep quiet. You see?
The economy is tanking, and a lot of people are out of employment. Civil servants are poorly resourced and they earn almost nothing. Do you think that even as you say that there's no alternative, people would want this presidency to continue?
The issue of there not being an alternative is a serious one. You can label everything, the economy is not working, blame ED. But the question that you and I have, okay, if ED is out, who's coming in?
Nelson Chamisa?
Does he have a party? Yes, they're already, his inability to lead his people speaks volumes of a country. You see, never want to be in Form 1 when you've not done Grade 1.
Job scholar?
Listen, you put ED there in job scholar. Do you really think people would vote for Job Scull and leave ED? You know, it's what you're eating at the moment. Huh? If you have a father coming with something every day home, whether it's not enough, you know, even if he's a stepfather and your father comes and so forth, you ignore your father because this man is bringing something. Even if it's not enough. No, listen, for me, I said I would like to be the president. Indeed, I'd like to be the president of this country one day. And that's has its time and that's God's time and so forth. I am in ZANU-PF in terms of popularity. The ZANU-PF electorate likes me. The leadership doesn't like me. So I'm not worried about the leadership. You see? But you also have to be in a structure. Of course, if I decided to be the president of this country, I would have to make sure that the party that is there right now is ZANU-PF. You get in, you change the constitution, and you make sure that you're not fired as the president, number one. And then you go to Congress. Because there's no other party. All these things of joining this and that, people now know. So to me, ZANU-PF must rebrand itself and do good for the people. And people forget about the opposition. That's what they need to do. They need to be inclusive. They must come back and fight it within the party.
Why is then ZANU-PF or its surrogates fighting the opposition and infiltrating the opposition if they are safe?
But my point is that why should you be infiltrated? I told you,
No, the question is, why are they infiltrating them if they are?
But who says they are? Because the opposition is weak. Because the doors are open, you ask with my...
How do you say opposition is weak when it won seats and stopped a 2/3 majority? How is that being weak?
When you drove into this yard, was the gate closed? Was it closed? Huh?
Yes, it was closed.
It was closed. And if it was open and I find you inside, would I say you infiltrated this yard? I understand where I'm coming from. The gate is closed.
Even if your gate is open, this is private property. I can't just walk in without permission.
Then I'll say I don't know. I didn't read, but already I'm inside. And I've seen what I want and I go out. I say, sorry, sir, Dara. I got in. I did not see a sign written, trespassers will be prosecuted, I'm sorry. But I would have seen where the main bedroom is and so forth, and I get out. I would have done what I want and I get out. Do you blame me?
Homes in Borodale, some of them in the Borodale, in the Brook, they don't have this security fencing, but people don't walk into people's yards, do they?
That's why it's difficult to get into Borodale Brook, because you need to have a pass, they need to know where you're going and so forth. So what have you done yourself to make sure that there is no infiltration? They've put a system in place. So that system that we're talking about are the structures he was supposed to have. The structures he was supposed to have were there to protect him. To a point where when you see on the ground...
But you said he's surrounded by crooks.
No. I say that he's misled. He's misled by those. He trusts people who don't have that ability.
But those people were supposed to be the structures that you are saying misled him.
But he didn't have a structure. He was asked by the speaker, where is the constitution? You know why he was asked? Because ZANU-PF has got a constitution which is very clear. All correspondence will be done through the sector of administration. Are you understanding? That's why you writing to the speaker and you are district chairman of ZANU-PF. He does not tolerate it. Because he is also in the party. He is the Secretary for Legal Affairs. He knows that it's only the party. When we were expelled from ZANU-PF, it's the Secretary for Administration who wrote the letter. Because it's clear in the Constitution. And that's why he demanded the Constitution to see what does the Constitution say. There was no Constitution. There was no structure. Ambiguity. That's the word.
Let's talk about the economy. What is your view about where we're going as a country at the moment?
Corruption. Let's deal with corruption and let's account for our resources. Now, people will not suffer. And the leaders who make it happen to deal with corruption will lead for wherever, because all people want is a good life, good health care, good education, a good pension. That's all. Goods competitive. That's all people want. Not more, not less. And that's what we must give to our people.
When you say corruption, there's argument that it's an issue around sanctions. It's an issue around the world economy that is not performing, COVID-19, and not necessarily.
No, but we've got minerals which are performing, which are in Zimbabwe, and we are one of the biggest in terms of those minerals in the world. So we should actually be smiling, because those minerals are fetching a lot of money, and fetching a lot of money, they then should then be consolidated. That revenue must go to the consolidated revenue fund, which is then able to distribute money. It doesn't even get there. It's painful. That's the most painful subject, to be honest with you, because we must not be suffering. Let the money go to the consolidated revenue fund and apportion it. Say we got 3 billion, we got 4 billion, we got 6 billion, we're doing this. To a point where all of us at the end of the year, Zimbabweans must benefit $1,000 each because of the resources which are there.
Whose fault is it that we are not getting to that point you're talking about? Who do you blame?
Listen, there is the issue of legacy. Okay, the issue of legacy with the first president, the first republic, we're going to the second republic. The second republic, whether we like it or not, and was supposed to do better because of the experience.
Aren't they the ones who were doing the wrong things in the first republic? And how do you expect them to do the correct things?
You see, that's the choice of the people. Unfortunately, I don't control that. To be honest with you, I don't control that. But what is critical at the end of the day is to say, okay, this is where we are. The level of corruption is too much. It's too much. You know, it's too much, and we need to fight it. But corruption fights back. There are cartels that if you want to expose them, they'll fight you. For me, listen, I try to expose as much as I can. It's not easy, you need courage, but I'm never scared of anybody, really. No, and I believe in God, that's it. And my conscience is my master. When I would be in parliament, I'd ask, am I doing good for the people? Not for me. Am I doing good for the people? Even when I push for MPs to get a better wealth, it was for the people, because I know how they suffer. I don't go through that. I'm a bit more resourced than them. And I used to spend $150,000 to $200,000 a year in the constituency. From there, I'll invite you to my resort. Next time, let's have this interview at my resort. In 3 months' time, mid-September, I went to my farm, and mid-December, I built a resort. In 3 months' time. So what else can I do from a business point of view every 3 months?
People say that the economy is not performing, but you walk on the streets of Zimbabwe, you see amazing cars. In fact, you have business people who buy, who donate cars like confetti. I mean, where's the disconnect?
We need to be very clear that people have got different talents, gifts they want to put to the surface, and they're able to do that. Just because a few are doing that does not mean that the country. How do you measure the wealth of the country? The GDP. The GDP. That's how you measure the wealth of the country. That's how you measure that people are doing well. So you can't follow that. That's not a basis to measure Zimbabwe. The more people suffer, the few are the ones who are successful, and they become untouchable, and they make more money. But they will never share the money with everyone. That's why the Indigenization Act was critical, that 51%, 30% of it for the Sovereign Wealth Fund, 10% for the community, 10% for the workers. You see, 31% would go to the Sovereign Wealth Fund. That's why that law was there. I mean, that's a priceless law. That empowered the people through the law and would not be suffering. That's a law that needs to come back. You see, as much as people did not like Mugabe and so forth, but not when it came to that law. That was the darling. That was the cake for the people.
Let me take you to something else. You're now a Sabuku, the Communal Lands Act. Just over the past few weeks, months, we saw a number of people being displaced from their communal homes being destroyed. Let's talk about that, Tim.
It's not happening in my area. Our people are very much safe. If there's anything, I'm pushing for them to have title deeds.
In communal land?
Yes.
But the law says that land belongs to the president.
But that's why we want them to have title deeds, and they cannot sell the land so that they have permanent residence. Generations and generations can come there. It's given to your grandfather, you go, and it has to be given to...
Are you trying to change the law, or you're trying to just get title deeds? Which is which?
No. But we have to get title deeds in that you cannot sell it, because if it's used for collateral, the very big sharks will take it again. They'll own it. They'll own it. So if the provision is that it's a title deed, but you cannot use it for collateral. But if your family...
How does it become a title deed if you can't use it for
ownership
collateral?
to your family and to the other beneficiaries. But if you don't have anybody in the family that wants to benefit you, then surrender it. That should be the condition.
What is your view about this land being put in trust in the hands of the
but you see,
president?
you've got to understand that there were too many illegal players. You see, one of the steps that people must understand about the land reform is that I think 2001 people, up to 2001 people who had occupied farms during the land reform needed them to be regularized. That was a position given. And was that land regularized? Okay, where they were staying, was it regularized? And then after that, others came through. So those who came through before that are illegal. That's the truth. You know, one of the things that we must understand, but I appreciate government's position on this. We cannot have anarchy. We cannot have just anybody coming to stay here. You see, even if you have title deed, somebody's coming to stay here. I want to hear it's Zimbabwe, it's my country, I want to stay here. Already they put a makeshift. We can't have that. We've got to protect our land. We've got to respect our rights. How do people put money into a country where the very same people embarked on a land reform and the people want to put in money, but you're still not, you have not perfected the land reform. You're still having illegal settlers and so forth. Those who are illegal. That's the truth of the matter. Let's not play politics. But again,
but if you as a Sabuku gives me land and I build there, then I suffer after you've given me land.
Those are not true Sabukus. Okay? I would have given you Chikwangwani changu cha Sabuku. Ndino bada. $63 per month. No bada ndini Sabuku. These are Masabuku Matsoti, Makoronyera. They know how to get to people. If there's anything that people of this country have mastered, is how to get people money from people who are desperate. When you go to Kuongorata, blessed outside a stand, out there, Chichonga, Mdara, couldn't stand the Rikoi, no good. You will never save a power end. They're criminals. But what we must emphasize to get is the Uchena report. That is a very important one. And then also the report on the multiple farm owners.
Where are those reports?
That's what we must push for. That's what we must push to get. You see, because you are going for the wrong people. What is said is that those people who are being evicted, you see, that's the sad part. They were desperate. Should government now regularize that? Even if Garapa city right, should government regularize that? So let's not be harsh on government. Let government regularize things and do things lawfully. That's important. As much as I at pains to see people's properties being destroyed, but if it's illegal, it's illegal. That's the other issue. But Sabuku wacho ndisagupu papa kuita sei waona chikwangwani chake anonzani ndiana akudzi. Land is gazetted. Masabuku land iri gazetted at the end of the day. A chief is there, he gazettes that land. It's the same thing as Kunotono. Why did you Masabuku? I'll tell them what's Masabuku. Are you with me? Nakuti land no gazetwa, then masabuko also gato. Yeah, gazette. So that's the thing, and unfortunately a lot are suffering through that, which is quite unfortunate. But government too cannot, because no one will put money into a country where there's anarchy. No one. Again, the credibility of the country is important. And I support the government in doing that. I support the government because some of these people, they do it knowingly. Vanoziva kana uchida kunotenga uchipida kupiwa land unaenda ku lands committee, and that was very clear. Opiwa A1, opiwa tsamba yako A2. Others again vapiwa A1 vaitengesa land yoyo. Land in the Europa, you can't sell it. And then A2 futi like pafam pangu ndotengesera iwewe, ndotengesera uyu. That's illegal. Go to government and say, this land is too big for me. Can you cut it? I'd like to keep this. And the government then is able to apportion that land to other people. We must follow the law. We must follow the law. Talking about Muramba Trina, but the law is the law. You see, today, my daughter, I don't know whether she's been denied bail or not. I must not cry and say, but say asungwa. Can I achkora mtemo? I lead a clean life and I expect them to do that. But can I achkora mtemo? While it's painful, it hurts me sababa and so forth. But ndoende rene kundinonze sabuku ndono phone around please muregerere and so forth and all that. I can't do that. I must respect the law because the aspect of drugs is topical. While she's injuring herself, she's also injuring other people's kids. And I cannot allow other people's kids to be injured. If it's her, then I'll deal with her separately after this in terms of the rehab. Painful as it is, I cannot allow the law. That's how I would want to say to you. That I'm also in the same situation. I didn't go to court. Because I don't want people to think I influenced everything. The due process. But if she was with a boyfriend who indulges, then the law must think. She must now think, because is this the right person for me to be with? She's 20 years old. I cannot tell her what to do. She refused to stay with me here and so forth. You then allow them to be independent. But in being independent, if they break the law must take its course, sadly.
I want to thank you very much, Chemba, for speaking to us and for sharing that personal story of yours from the heart. I mean, drugs are a topical issue, and it's important for us to be able to speak and ventilate about these things, and also to touch the lives of others who might be in the same situation. And it starts with us as fathers, standing up in the gap and saying, this is wrong, my child. Can you do better?
Tomorrow, if she's in, I'll be the first person to arrive at that prison with food and talk to her.
Thank you very much, Sabuku.
Thank you.
Mliswa. But, I would just kindly ask you to, to look the people of Zimbabwe in the eye and share any message that you have, probably from your heart, something that we might not have discussed, that you feel so strongly about that you need to talk about.
Listen, I think the people are great people, educated, everything, but we've got to be mature about how we do things. I've seen it myself from the Norton situation. I lost the election, but people are saying, no, you must come back, we made a mistake. I respect your choice. I always respect your choice and so forth. But I always also say to them, but you've destroyed the future of your children, because I was about education. I was doing a lot for the children, and I thought as adults you'd see that and so forth. So, let's understand what the country needs. It needs leadership. Does a leader need to belong to a political party? No. Does a leader need to be a person for the people? Yes. Does a leader need to come from your area? No. Does a leader need to care for you? Yes. Does a leader need to love you? Yes. Does a leader need to be honest with you? Yes. Does a leader need to fight the scourge of drugs, which is topical for the good of your children? Yes. So really, it's up to you. Like I say, it's quite a sad one when you have one of your own child who's been involved in these drugs. I always have the slogan, Siaguka, Siamtoriro, Siamtoriro, Siaguka, and the country will be better for us.
As we see a free talk now. This is Free Talk. And I'm your host as usual, Dara B, and I was in conversation with Sabuku Temba Mliswa, the former member of parliament for Norton. And he continues, as he says, to do work with the people of Norton and we were discussing people, power, and politics. Now, this is the Free Talk in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom on this Heart and Soul TV and radio. We are a station of choice, and thank you very much for joining us and following Free Talk and making it the program that matters. Until next time, thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure.